Please can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? With purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm Lori LeBay, the host and founder of Alzheimer's Speaks, and I'm just thrilled to death that you are here joining us today. For those of you that are new, because we always get new listeners all around the world, I just want to let you know who we are and what we're about briefly. Bottom line, Alzheimer's Speaks is an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort worldwide. And we believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and just having these everyday conversations about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to improve lives and remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and allow people to continue to live with purpose, both those diagnosed and their loved ones. Together, we can help everyone understand the true needs of this disease and the power behind it, and change as a society as whole, and as well as friends and family. At our core, we believe collaboratively is the only way we're going to win this battle. And so, again, I really hope that you will join in on this conversation by sharing this show with other people. Today we're going to be talking about NFL and brain injuries, and this is a hot topic, and it needs to get even hotter, I think, for things to truly change and people to understand the impact throughout life that concussions can have and head injuries can have on us. And through your likes, through your shares, you really add a lot of power to not only our show, but anybody that you choose to share information with. You see, we're so grateful because you've made us the number one influencer online regarding Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And the only way that happened was for you as individuals to take those couple of seconds to share our information with your friends and your colleagues, your Twitter tribes, your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn colleagues, your Pinterest people. People need information, and they need it at different times. And the more we can get it out there, the easier it is for people to grab it when they're ready, because like anything else, we can't force it down. The other thing that I just want to say about Alzheimer's Speaks is you might be listening going, hey, I got a story to tell, and we're all about raising everyone's voice. So we would love to hear from you, and you can reach out to me by going to alzheimersspeaks.com. And up top, there's a big contact button. Maybe you're living with dementia and want your story to be heard. Maybe you're caring for a loved one. Maybe you're a researcher or an advocate or a movie director or an author. It doesn't make any difference. We want to hear from everyone because it takes all of us to really make change. Now, before I introduce our guest today, I want to just give you a couple of free offers that you can take advantage of. One is for FreshBooks, which is a free accounting system that you can utilize for 30 days by going to go to gofreshbooks.com/alive. That's gofreshbooks.com/alive, and check them out. The other is for Audible, which is a great way. You know, we're such a fast-paced society. Many of us don't have time to sit down and read a book, but we can listen in the car or while we're jogging or walking, or maybe just relaxing, trying to take a nap. And you can get a free 30-day trial by going to audibletrial.com/social. Again, that's audibletrial.com/social. So that's enough of my housekeeping. Why don't we get to this show? Because again, I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. We're going to be talking with two great guys. The first is Dr. Jason Carthen, and he is known by some, or to some, as the Leadership Linebacker, or some just refer to him as Dr. Jason. He's a former former professional football player for the world champion New England Patriots. He's an international speaker, author, avid blogger, and media personality, along with a philanthropist. And if you go to his website and just click on any of his videos, you're going to be just trapped because he really is engaging. And today we're going to discuss with Dr. Jason his views on concussions and football. So welcome, Dr. Jason. How are you today?
Oh, I am well, and thank you so much for that introduction. That's a lot to live up to, but I'll try.
Oh, it's pretty simple. You go to your website, and it's so impressive, and you are so engaging and just so authentic, which is rare these days, to feel somebody's passion come through video and through the internet. But it just bounces right off the machine and hits you right in the soul. So I thank you for your work.
Thank you.
We're going to also have joining us for this conversation Michael Duerson, who suffered from a concussion while playing college football for IUPUI at the age of 18, and he's now 57 years old. He is in his professional career, he was a vice president for multiple companies and managed turnaround teams. But in 2009, Mike was ruled as gravely mentally disabled by the government, and he was removed from the workforce. Currently, he's a philanthropist, and he's the founder of the Dave Duerson Athletic Safety Fund, which provides national-wide concussion testing called IMPACT for student athletes 7 to 12 in honor of his brother Dave. The foundation also provides concussion education curriculum to school districts for children's grades kindergarten through 12, which I just think is amazing. So welcome, Mike. How are you today?
Very good, and thank you for that introduction as well.
Well, I am, like I said, I'm really excited to have you both with us today because, you're in the thick of this, and you've seen so much in your lifetimes in terms of brain injuries and concussions and sports. And we all know sport, it's nothing that's going away, but there's definitely some impact that we're seeing from this. So I'm going to throw the first question out to Dr. Jason. Can you just tell people how long did you play football, and did you ever have a concussion during your lifespan?
Well, I started playing football when I was 9 years old, mm-hmm. and, never stopped. I wound up playing professionally for 4 years before I had a knee injury that stopped all of that. And to be honest, Lori, it was a big deal to not let people know about being hurt or injured or anything like that. And so there was probably some times that I did have my proverbial bell rung, and mm-hmm. I didn't know it was a concussion. But I had all of the symptoms that a concussion is really described as having right now. And I kept going anyway. And, so I don't know exactly how many I would have had mm-hmm. at this point. But over that span of time, and especially playing professionally, who knows exactly how many, but really challenging, after experiencing some of those hits and actually giving some of those hits as well. So
yeah, it is a give and take kind of game, that's for sure, out there. And I think that's one of the tough parts with it too, is you don't really know to what extent has this had impact. Do you ever, Jason, do you ever worry now about the knowledge that's out about concussions? Do you ever personally worry about what's happening with my brain, and am I going to see any major changes?
Yes, and just to, I guess, provide a little bit of clarity, I think it's one of those things that it's in the back of your mind. For me, it's in the back of your mind, and little things begin to happen, and they've been happening now for a few years, and you just sort of say, oh, that's because I'm getting older or something like that, but it's very unsettling, So I do think about it, and I wonder, when something may happen, or if what some people would say are symptoms would get worse, what that would look like. So yeah, I mean, it's always in your mind, just because of such a dangerous game that we played, and just some of the hits and all of that. So
yeah. Well, and it seems like society loves to see those big bangs, if it's in football or if it's in hockey. I mean, it's almost like we're encouraging it to see how hard people can get hit. And I think people are starting to, anyway, some people I think are starting to think twice about, is that good for our kids and for our men and women who are playing these games, now with some of the new information out. So thank you for that. Michael, I'd like to ask you, now you definitely have seen some impact. You did suffer a concussion when you were playing basketball at the age of 18, but now you have been ruled gravely mentally disabled. Can you talk about that experience with us a little bit?
Well, actually, yes. The ruling as gravely mentally disabled came after what I thought was a very successful career. Actually, in 2006, I was inducted into the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, Illinois, as one of the top 10 African-American engineers in the country.
Wow.
Only to have 2009 come and be taken out of the workforce. Currently, I have been diagnosed as pre-Parkinson's, and to your question to Jason, am I concerned about my future? Yes, very much so, because I've been diagnosed as far as psychiatric problems with everything, probably with the exception of Tourette's. Mm-hmm. And now the common diagnosis is that I'm pre-Parkinson's. Okay. And that's something that is a very devastating disease, and it makes life have an urgency about it for me, because I don't know how long I'll be able to continue to live life as I currently do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where that would be a huge, huge concern. Now, you also had a brother, Dave Duerson, and who can you tell? I'll let you tell the story a little bit about Dave and how you have come to this athletic safety fund in his honor.
Dave started his career as a football player at a very young age, attended Notre Dame, was the co-captain of the team there, a very smart individual. He graduated from Notre Dame with a degree in economics with honors, was drafted and played for the Chicago Bears and was on the 95 Super Bowl shuffle, Chicago Bears. Pardon me, Jason, since you're a Patriot, and in that game, Chicago actually played the Patriots and won the Super Bowl. Yeah. And then he played in the 90 Super Bowl with the New York Giants and won the second Super Bowl. And he was the NFL Man of the Year twice, once winning the Travelers Man of the Year, and then the second time winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And his NFL career was 11 years. He was successful in business, got a master's degree in business at Harvard, and was a supplier to McDonald's and Burger King and many other companies in the meat processing business. And then in 2011, Dave took his life while he was a member of the NFL Disabilities Commission, which was consisting of 3 players and 3 owners of the NFL. And Dave took his life February 2011 by shooting himself in his heart. And he sent out a message to the family to have his brain sent to the NFL Brain Bank, which is located at Boston University. And after the autopsy, they determined that he was in the 4th and final stage of CTE, which is, CTE is very much in the news these days. There are a lot of people that are concerned about it. Basically, it's a disease of the brain from brain concussions that never heal. And so it's one concussion after another, and it's a dreadful disease. As a family, we never knew that Dave was going through that. He moved to a little island south of Miami and was very much away from all of us who live in the Midwest.
Okay.
And so we started the fund a year after he passed because as a family, we determined that the portion of the population that is not being given consideration as far as concussion legislation and treatment and prevention are the kids kindergarten through 12th grade. And so we provide concussion goggles, which are simulators of concussion, and give the kids the symptoms of concussion when they're wearing them. And we're currently providing those, and also the IMPACT study, which is a neurocognitive test. It's been used worldwide in World Cup soccer, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and boxing. And we're providing that at our cost to schools in the country. Our goal for 2016-2017 is to provide those 2 technologies to over 13,000 schools in the country. We're basically trying to provide to the 100 largest school districts in the country, and if we're successful, we will touch over 7.2 million children during this next school year.
Wow, that is fabulous. Now, I'm just going to ask you in terms of funding, because you said you guys are eating that piece. Where do your funds come from? Is it individuals? Is it corporations? Is it grants? Is it all of the above?
We have been fortunate to get some grants. Basically, up until this year, the funding came out of the income that my wife and I have. We got some support from some smaller corporations, and then we have one larger corporation that provided funds. And then for this current project, we have been blessed with a very significant contribution from a corporate donor who has pledged donation for 20 consecutive years, with the goal that we will provide the services that I mentioned to every public school in the nation.
Wow, that is fabulous. It's nice to see a business step up to help you get this good work done. This education and protection and awareness is so vitally important. Now, one of the things I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, because I think if people haven't seen this film, I think they have to go watch it, the movie Concussion. And so I'm going to throw this to Dr. Jason, then I'll come back to you again, Michael. But Dr. Jason, have you watched the film Concussion at all? I ended up watching it when I was traveling, when I was speaking, and I literally watched it twice in a row, and I never do that with a film. But I was just stunned by this film. It just really, really grabbed me, and the information and the process of one man's battle to kind of bring this out into the world. Have you seen it?
I have, and I had to purchase it and have it here, so my own children could see it one day. Because at the end of the day, it really illuminates a lot of the challenges, whether some of those challenges were real or perceived in the public's mind and some of the players' minds as well. So, it's one of those things where they really dug into just some relationships and communication, and really got a lot of great feedback in order to make that movie. And it's one of those things that it really offers a sobering look at some of the challenges that not only the players face, or also just some of the red tape they have to go through in order to receive treatment and care as well.
Yeah, it was very powerful. Now, Mike, were you? I know that you were involved a little bit with the film on a consulting basis, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Not this film. There are actually a couple of documentaries that are currently being filmed that we're being consulted on.
Okay. Have you seen this Hollywood film, though, the movie Concussion?
Yes, I have, and we've been blessed with free DVDs to supply to the school systems that we're reaching out to. It's a part of our administrative kit that we supply for the concussion goggles. We also include a copy of the movie Concussion, so that the school administrators and teachers can become informed regarding that. And my brother David has actually played in that film. And Sony has been very good to us to allow us to utilize their project and their funds to send that movie around the country.
Oh, that is wonderful to hear that they are being so gracious with that, because it is so powerful, and I think it's going to make kids and parents alike, and again with teachers and coaches, sports differently, and the need for protection, and the effects. My heart just went out to the families struggling, when they didn't know what was going on, and to see these men take their lives because they didn't know what else to do, and they're screaming out for help, and yet there wasn't much help out there. You'd like to see that door really open up, and it seems like business-wise, people, organizations are afraid of saying, yes, we'll support this because, oh my gosh, what's it going to cost us with our bottom line? But, it's the right thing to do, to be able to support people through the risks of the game, if it's football, if it's hockey, or whatever. And I think if we can at least help remove some of the fear and give people some support, and there's lots of things we can do to help a family understand this, and the person diagnosed learn to live with it the best they can. That's a huge gift. That really offsets a lot. It doesn't get rid of the disease, but at least it takes away the isolation, which I think is just so devastating to so many people out there. And, when I talk to people all over the world, because of, what I do, one of the things people with dementia say over and over and over again is just the fact of, how did you deal with that diagnosis? And most of them say it was a relief. At least now I know there's really something wrong. Where before they just thought they were going crazy. And that's kind of what I saw in the film, was these poor guys just struggling, thinking that they're nuts, not knowing what is happening to them. And I just think that that's such a critical piece, that we have to raise a voice on this and do it in a compassionate, caring way. Not saying that we can fix it, not saying that we have all the answers, but we can support people in a gracious manner and listen to them. Give them an outlet so that the researchers can truly learn what's going on, with this disease. And I think that's such a misstep not to engage and have those honest conversations, because to me it puts us behind the 8 ball of fighting the battle of the disease. Dr. Jason, what would you, I guess, say to those comments of mine? Is that something that aligns with you, or are you thinking, this gal's a little wacko?
No. As you were talking, I mean, it resonates with me, and, just you said a lot, so I'll just pick out one thing there at the end. The whole idea of just having these feelings on the inside of uncertainty. That's probably the best thing for me to call it. Just feelings of uncertainty and wondering, okay, what is this? What's going on? Why these changes now? Like you said, it's almost just a relief when you're able to understand, okay, I'm not the only one dealing with this. I'm not the only one that has some concerns or challenges or whatever it may be. So, that part resonates with me about what you shared. But then also, just going back to some of the things related to what were depicted in the movie, it was heartbreaking to see a lot of just the examples. And while they were actors, they were still very good actors, and they showed, the guys that had that gradual decline, but they felt isolated. Mm-hmm. That's the part that's just horrible if you really think about it. And in some ways, you really want to ask, why did it come to that? Why did it take so long? And I'm just hoping that now with shows like yours and some of the things that are taking place to really heighten awareness, more things can be done, and no one has to feel like they're isolated and they have to really walk this thing out all by themselves. So, yeah, everything you shared, it's on point. It resonated with me.
Well, and even I remember one of the wives saying, "If I only would have known. If I only would have known, I would have done better. I would have changed my response, but I didn't know." And the fear the families had with some of the behaviors, were really outbursts and really threatening to these families. And how spooky, for all sides to be involved in that, when the guys knew that's not who they were and it's not who they wanted to be, but they couldn't stop those behaviors. And for the children and the wives and I'm sure the friends as well, seeing these behaviors. And, I don't know, Mike, if one of the reasons Dave moved was to isolate himself, to try to hide it. Because I hear that from a lot of people. They don't know what to do, and so they move away and they kind of do a self-isolation because they're afraid of hurting someone. Just with regular dementia, for some people will not be able to even sleep in the same room anymore. And as a husband and wife or partner, that's a significant change. But some of them wake up with these dreams and hallucinations, and they start attacking who's next to them. And so they choose to sleep in separate rooms so that they don't harm their loved one. I mean, those are things we don't talk about, and we need to have these conversations. One of the things that I love about my job is in terms of being able to engage people. And so one of the platforms that I have now is called Dementia Chats. And it's just a beautiful place for people with dementia to be able to be the experts, because they know what it feels like. They know what it looks like. They know what it's doing to their bodies. We're just all guessing. So why not ask directly? Why not empower them to help the next guy in terms of having these conversations? It's just a very simple concept. And if there are, players listening that would like a platform like that, I would love to create another one specifically for, brain injuries. And we could even do one, specific to the CTE. To try to bring people together that are experiencing similar things and to help educate the public on what it's like. And we have phenomenal conversations. I learn something every time I do one of those. And, they're free to the public. They're free to professionals. We record them. They're accessible. And it's just, there's so many simple little things that don't have to cost a lot of money, don't have to take a lot of time, but that we can learn from and we can empower all people with. And it's just a neat thing that I think it's time in this element for organizations to stand up and say, we can help. We can't take away what's happened. The game may not even change in terms of rules or what's going on, though I know a lot of that stuff's being looked at, but we can support our players and we can support their families through information and through education and through community. And I think that could help so many. Mike, what is your thought about, do you think people playing football or families would be interested in additional support? What you're doing is wonderful. I love you're getting into into the kids, into the schools and stuff. But do you think that there's a need for families and players to have additional support as well?
Yes, I do. We are members of the NFL alumni and also the NFL Players Association, retired players. We're charter members of both organizations. And one point that I'd like to make for your audience is that with CTE, suicide is actually a side effect of the disease. And most people are not aware of that. Mm-hmm. And so to have a forum like you're speaking of for the players, but also for the wives and the children, because they see their dad or their mother, if it's a sport that females play, soccer, for example, or any other sports, women's basketball.
We've kind of gotten into all of them lately.
Multiple concussions, mm-hmm. And to see a loved one change radically in their behavior and not be able to discuss it, you find that with NFL wives in meetings that I've been in, that they're suffering very much because they don't have anyone to talk to about what's going on. And so your platform would be well accepted, and I think it would be greatly needed and will be appreciated very much.
Well, and I think with, when you're dealing with sports and stuff, you've got elevated personalities, and I think a lot of times things are expected to be hidden more from the public, that you're in control and everything looks good. And Dr. Jason, am I wrong on that? But it just always seems like, everything's supposed to look good, and I would think that would make it harder for families to be authentic in terms of dealing with their emotions.
I think you're dead on, and I don't think it's just the idea of the sports context. I think just human beings in general want to have it all together. They want to be perceived a certain way, and so once you start bumping into some things and you are, you're shown to not have it all together, it can be a little challenging. I mean, mm-hmm. that can be problematic, and for many of us, this whole social desirability says that I want to be seen, in a certain light, and it's hard to keep that up, and especially if there are some challenges in terms of your just your ability to live the way you've always lived because of some challenges related to mental health or whatever it may be. So, it's a very real thing. I mean, and the fact that you are creating open forums for this, I just think that's amazing. And more of the guys need to hear. And it's not just, so let me press the pause button. It's not just us, the guys that played in the National Football League. I mean, you have volleyball players, basketball players, soccer. I mean, there's so many people now that really, struggle based off of one hit, to their head or whatever it may be. It can change their lives. So the fact that you're heightening awareness and you're creating open forums, I mean, Lori, that's exactly what we need. We just have to be open to receiving the help, though, at this point.
One of the other platforms is called, and I actually brought it over from the UK, is called the Memory Cafe, and it's probably one of the most beautiful things that I get to experience, and I learn so much from people. It's just a really great place and an honor to be a facilitator of these, but it allows people with dementia and their care partners to come, so as husband and wife, or if it's a dad and a daughter, or whatever. But they come and they are able to talk with peers that are going through this. And what is so cool is they walk in a little apprehensive. Usually one wants to come and the other one's kind of dragged in the door going, okay, I'll try it. But by the end of the first meeting, if not by the second for sure, I could prop them up in front of somebody doing an interview for TV or some kind of news platform, and they are just all in. Their embarrassment is gone. They're empowered because they know they're not alone. They know that everybody around the table gets it and is supportive. And the disease brings us together, but it takes a back seat. And I think that's the beauty of it. It allows people to get back to the core of their relationships. And even with some of the larger organizations, they're like, well, you can't have a person with dementia and the care partners at the same meeting. And it's kind of like, well, where the heck do you think they are the rest of the day? They're together, We need to be able to talk respectfully. We need to let people get back to the core of who they are and help build on that instead of take it away, so that one person is always caring for someone else, and really kind of get rid of that term caregiver and really get back to care companions or care partners. So it's a two-way street, and get people to be able to laugh and cry and process those emotions and feel grateful for what they still have left and what's around them, to really live in the present moment. And it's an incredible forum that I think has so much power and could probably be used in this setting as well. The conversations are just unbelievable. And the camaraderie is just so tight. And I guess I see that one of the biggest failures of society is the isolation and the embarrassment. And that's another forum that kind of takes that away and empowers people to feel good again as a person. Even though they're not perfect, none of us are, and we kind of joke about that. It's like, we're all carrying our baggage. It just comes in different sizes and in different lots and hits us in different ways. So, if dementia and neurological disorders have one thing to teach us, is that none of us is perfect. And, so let's just clear that off the table right now. Let's stop striving for that and let's learn to be authentic, because authenticity brings us so much peace and so much joy and, simplifying things because we've gotten so fast-paced and things. So, it's just, like I said, I'm so behind all of this and would love to help create some change. So hopefully even just our conversation will get some of our listeners and maybe some players and some organizations thinking a little bit differently, that this doesn't have to break the bank. It can actually, I think, support them from draining the bank in a lot of ways, just by doing social good, just by remembering we're people and we're human at our core, and that we need support. Now, I do want to see, Mike, if you had anything else you wanted to add, but I definitely want to talk a little bit more about, the foundation that you've built and how people can get involved in that. But did you have any comments on what we were just talking about?
I think you and Jason have done a great job of explaining the realities and the experiences of the players. And I would just ask a question concerning how people can become involved. We have a website that has a very simple name, which is DD, like Dave Duerson, the word fund, FUND.org. So ddfund.org. And you can go to that site and you can see what we're doing. We've had this site since 2012. We provide white papers and all kinds of up-to-date information concerning traumatic brain injuries, not just concussions, but it is an opportunity to get good information, and we concentrate on things that are happening to children. And our hope is that through these efforts, we'll be able to facilitate some research with our children and look at long-term effects, because one of the things that the researchers are currently looking at is markers, DNA markers for people and that would be more susceptible to concussion than others. And I've been blessed to be able to be a part of the Legend study, which is mainly professional athletes. But since I've been being treated for so many decades for my various maladies, the directors of the testing chose to have me be one of the Legend study members, and I've also left my brain and spinal cord to the brain bank where Dave's brain and spinal cord are located, and we look just alike, so my thinking is we may share a lot of DNA markers that might be the same, and perhaps something good can come out of the study of myself and him.
Yep. Yeah, it really is about helping the next guy, and we do need to get more people involved with these brain banks and the research and the studies that are going on right now. It's just absolutely critical, because we're not going to get a cure if we don't have anything to study. I mean, it's kind of a basic thing, but yet I think it's severely overlooked. And people are scared in terms of, is it going to affect their insurance and who's going to know? And I mean, there's a lot of worry regarding research, and we really have to back that better in order to really move ahead with things. Now, Dr. Jason, I'm just wondering, for you, and then I'll throw this back to Mike again. Do you know others that have head injuries, and how are they doing with if it's traumatic brain or if it's CTE? How are they coping?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of the guys, they will share what they think it may be, but they are not very forthcoming with it. And it's almost, this is the sad part that you touched on earlier, but it's almost like a sense of shame that's associated with it. And the guys that I talk to, because we'll get together for whatever it may be, appearance or seeing the children or talking to the youth, and you can tell there's something going on, but they don't really like to talk about it, and I can't blame them. I don't like to talk about anything like that. It really speaks to facing some things that you may not want to face at that point. But it's an unspoken thing right now for the most part. And so the coping part is really not dealing with it right now. And until you really gain some clarity on whether or not it's truly there, it's not really something that's discussed too much, other than maybe an offhanded remark to try and make light of it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, Laura, it's not something that's really focused, and people are trying to discuss next steps or getting help around certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense, and that's what I've seen in my years with just Alzheimer's and dementia in general is, and when you say the shame game, I mean, that's awful. Nobody should feel ashamed of having a disease, and yet there is such shame and blame too that comes from all different directions with this, and that we've got to get rid of that. We've gone in and we've supported cancer when people couldn't even say the word; it was just the C word. We've gone in and supported AIDS, where people couldn't have that conversation, and it's time for all these neurological disorders to get out of the closet and get into the living room and people be able to have a comfortable conversation. And the only way we can do that is to be honest. And, that might be through tears and laughter, but, we have to have these authentic conversations. It's what people deserve. It should be almost a rite of passage in terms of this life, as far as I'm concerned, and not something that they have to struggle with. There's too many other things to struggle with. We've got to support these people, dealing with this. We just have to. We've got to change. So thank you so much for that.
No, absolutely. And if I can add one other thing, I know, I think one other thing that we have to be mindful of is that if we're going to be transparent and open and admit that there's an issue, we need a lot of support, around that. So that's huge, because I think the part that no one wants is that if you say something and then you're ridiculed, or someone says you don't have that, or you're trying to do something, it just makes it worse.
Yeah.
It makes it worse. So.
Well, and we just had a conversation on our dementia chat, so probably within the last 2 months, about how many of them are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or Lewy body or frontal temporal lobe or Alzheimer's, whatever it might be, and they have family and friends argue with them. Well, you look fine. Well, I'm not fine. I know I'm not fine. The doctors say I'm not fine. And some of them even speaking out on Facebook and becoming advocates, some of them have actually gotten attacked by others verbally, saying there's no way that you can have this disease and still give a speech. There's no way you can. And everyone who's diagnosed with a neurological disorder is going to respond a little bit different. Their symptoms are going to be a little bit different. And, we have to start being respectful of that. It isn't an ABCD type process. And everybody who cares for somebody is going to react different. Every environment is going to trigger, things changing. And we all want this kind of silver bullet answer. And it's not there. It's about building a toolkit. It's about being gracious. It's about starting to ask ourselves, why is this here and what can I learn from it? Instead of why me, and feeling sorry for it being there. Not that you're not going to go through that. That's part of the grief process. But if we can get people empowered to say, what can I do to help out the next guy? What can I do to help myself, my family? What can I learn? Because so many of the lessons that I've learned through my mom's 30-year journey with this disease, they're life-enhancing in all areas of my life. Not just when I'm talking with somebody with dementia, but with everybody I interact with. And I think there's just beautiful life lessons that can be learned and embraced if we give people the opportunity to do that, if we give them permission to be honest and authentic, and not always look pretty, and do it right, because none of us do. I mean, none of us do. We're not perfect, So I cannot thank you two enough for being with us today. I just think that this has just been such a fun and brilliant conversation, and hopefully we've raised some awareness here. Mike, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? You are just doing such great work, with your Dave Duerson Athletic Safety Fund and working with the schools and the kids. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I know one thing I wanted to ask you was about your servant leadership calling. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's a function of the task that God has given us, my wife and myself. We look at our fund as a missionary effort. And you were just talking about the need to be forthright with the disease. And I've come to a point where I wear my mental health and neurological problems as badges of courage. And I'm very open about it. My brother Dave was my medical power of attorney for 23 years, and during that 23 years I voluntarily went into the locked psych ward 18 times, and it was a conscious decision. God gave me a sixth sense that when I would feel myself going toward rage, I would take myself out of the family and off the streets and into the locked psych ward, where I could, with my Bible in hand, where I could study the Bible and have private time with my psychiatrist until I was ready to come back out. And God allowed me to be at a level in corporate America where I didn't lose my jobs because I was taking that time away until the final instance in 2009, where the government just finally, I think, looked at what was going on and the frequency of occurrence of hospitalization and took me out of the traditional workforce. Mm-hmm. I think that also I've been involved with the Indiana State Legislature getting laws changed. There are 4 laws that I've written the foundation for. And this last March, we got the first law changed, which basically says that coaches and assistant coaches for beginning at grade 5th grade through 12th grade have to take tests and pass it with a certification, mainly offered through the Centers of Disease Control on concussion awareness, education, detection, and treatment. And they have to take this test every 2 years and pass it, or they can't coach in the public school system in Indiana. And we have 3 other laws that I've written the foundation for. The 4th and final law is addressing mental illness. In the state of Indiana, mental illness is not considered a medical situation. It's actually considered civil disobedience. I don't know how many other states have backward laws like that, but in Indiana, it's not a mental problem, not a medical problem. It is a civil disobedience. So the people that have mental health problems end up in the courtroom sitting next to criminals. And it's just a terrible situation. And God has given me the direction and the words and the ability to work with the legislators to try and get that law changed. And my intent is to be able to live long enough and continue to communicate effectively to see that change occur.
Wow, that's there's a lot of laws that need to be changed, I think, regarding this, and I'm so glad to have you as such a solid advocate, and to be proud of your work. I mean, it's amazing, the work that you are doing, and I thank you so much for that, Mike. Jason, I have one last question I just wanted to run by you, and I'll ask Mike on this too before we end. What are your thoughts, not only on the NFL, but just our community and school sports guidelines for head injuries? What's your take on this? Do they need to change, and if so, how?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think right now they take their cues from some of the more established entities like college and then on into the National Football League. So I don't know that you're going to see a lot of, major changes right now. And that's the sad part. In my opinion, I think that some of those things certainly need to change. A lot of these young people have the idea and feeling that they are invincible, so they want those big hits. They want the top competition. They'll do whatever it takes, and they need that, I guess you say, that measured voice from their coaches, from their trainers, from even administrators saying, hey, let's keep the main thing, which is health, certainly great competition, but at the end of the day, we don't want to risk debilitating injuries or anything like that. But a lot of that is going to be really drawn from the cues of colleges and the professional ranks. So I do think there actually need to be changes, but it would have to take a movement. I mean, it would really have to be intentionality for some of those things to take place. And I just don't know where that's going to come from unless it's someone like Mike and yourself, and then also, even with my advocating it as well. But it's just going to have to be just a groundswell and a movement, people that would say, hey, let's rethink some of these rules, especially for our youth.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. Anything you want to add there, Mike?
I think you covered it very well, and I don't want to bore the audience by repeating those things you said.
Okay. Well, great. Well, again, I thank you both so much for your time and your work and your leadership, and your voice. We can't change unless we start having a conversation. And so I thank you for having a conversation with us here on Alzheimer's Speaks about this critical issue. And Michael, in order for people to reach out to you, they can go to your website, which is www.ddfund, that's FUND.org, or they can email you at mike@theddfund.org. And last, it's okay to share your phone number. I just want to confirm that on air.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, and that number is 847-707-2332. That's 847-707-2332. And for Dr. Jason, you can go to his website at www.jason, and that's JASON, Carthen, which is CARTHEN.com. Jason, was there any other contact information you wanted to give, or people can pretty much grab a hold of you through the website?
Oh, no, they can get a hold of me on the website, but then also I just recently really had a lot of success engaging my audience by just telling them to send me a text message. They can text me the message I Speak Life to 38470, and then they will be connected with me, and it will be a good opportunity to stay connected.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, too, again, for all you have done in terms of sharing your time and experience and thoughts with us here on Alzheimer's Speaks Radio, and I wish you both the best of luck.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you. For our listeners, if you missed our last shows, we just got through talking with Colette Wood, who was talking about spiritual care. So you might want to check that podcast out. We also talked with Gary LeBlanc and Lisa Rodriguez about managing Alzheimer's and dementia behaviors in a healthcare setting. And we had Tom and Karen Brenner on, too, last week, speaking about removing the doom and gloom from dementia. And their focus is really with the Montessori method. Our next show, we are going to have a director on with us for a new documentary film that probably isn't going to be released actually until late 2017 to 2018. And we're also going to be hearing from Brian LeBlanc, who is just a staunch advocate living with dementia down in Florida. So you can always subscribe to the show. You can listen to them live, or you can listen to them at your leisure. Our next Dementia Chats is scheduled for June 28th, and that'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific, and 4 o'clock London time. Our last one, we talked about advocacy and how they are using film and video to do that and the impact it has on them. Our last Conscious Caring resource was with behavior specialist Alon Caspi, and he talked about dementia in wood carving. He actually carved a wooden brain that is now being used at Yale University to help educate children when they come through. And our next interview will be with Claire Webster from Canada, and she is with the Caregiver Crosswalk. Just check out, go ahead and check out AlzheimersSpeaks.com. The front page is always rotating with our most current information there. One last thing I do want to mention is that if you are concerned about a loved one who might wander, you may want to take advantage of the Caregiver Alert Center. And you can click on their ad just on our front page. And it's very easy to sign somebody up when you're not in the thick of crisis. And you can get your pictures and height and weight and all that information posted. And if somebody were to wander, all you have to do is contact them with the police case number. And within 10 minutes, they will have that information disseminated. And I'm telling you, that is critical because I personally dealt with a friend who had a missing loved one, and it did not go smoothly at all. They have a buddy list. It can change languages depending on where you're at. It's a pretty cool thing. So check that out as well. In wrapping up, I just want to say God bless you all, and take advantage of our free tools that you can get on AlzheimersSpeaks.com. Just go ahead and sign up and check out for sure our memory chip, which teaches us how to really be person-centered and get away from task-based care to really focusing on, are they safe? Are they happy? Are they pain-free? We'll talk to you soon.
Hi, this is Suzanne Newman, host of the Answers for Elders podcast and radio show. We are the North Star that guides you through the complicated journey of senior care with trusted experts in money, law, living solutions, and more. So join us on this station, your favorite podcast channel, or just go to AnswersForElders.com. Meet the Wayshowers who will help your journey go a lot easier.